Hi, welcome to Thematic Masterclass. My name is Aliona Medelian, and I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Thematic. And today I will be sharing with you everything about theming. What are themes? Why do they matter when we analyze customer feedback? And how can you do it more effectively? So to start with, I'm going to share my screen and walk you through a few slides, and then we'll dig into Thematic. So I already introduced myself. I also want to say a couple of things about the Masterclass series themselves. So this is just the first episode of our Masterclass series, and we put them together so that we can share with you best practices, help you get more confidence using Thematic, get the most out of Thematic. And also, if you were to train your team, you will have a recording to share with them. So today we will be discussing some tricky cases. And I will also share a little bit about new features that are on the horizon or already has been recently added, but you might not have learned about them. And one note, we also have an insights community where we discuss more neutral topics, not related to what we do at Thematic as much, whereas this masterclass is specifically about our product. So here's our master series plans. We will be talking about themes today, but there will be other sessions throughout the year on and different people on our team will be sharing with you their knowledge. So let's get into the themes. What you'll learn today is what is a theme and the science behind finding themes, discovering them, how we do it in Thematic. I will do a deep dive into Themes Editor, one of our tools, and I will also show you how to do a themes discovery. So to start with, just a few notes on how Thematic works. It's quite a different solution. The number one thing that's different about Thematic is the transparency. So there are two ways of doing artificial intelligence. One is a black box AI, where you basically have this complex model that has layers and layers and nobody knows how they work. You put the data in and somehow it spits out an answer. It works, it is useful in many different situations, but when I was researching how to best design a customer feedback analysis solution, because market research already has been doing this for many, many years through a process called coding verbatims, as in coding customer feedback pieces. What was important to them is being able to trust the system, and you achieve that by being transparent, explain why specifically this thing happened. And if you understand why certain things were tagged in certain ways, why certain themes emerge, you can very easily change and iterate. And you don't need to rely on data scientists, the only people who can modify this really complex model and tweak them. So in Thematic, you can do it yourself, and I'll show you how. The second principle is augmented artificial intelligence. So basically, it's the idea of human working together with the AI to get the best outcomes. And the benefit of this is that we combining things that people are best at. People who work at companies understand the business, all of the different departments, the products and all of their versions and their history, and also the language nuance sometimes is better understood by people. Whereas with AI, we have something that's really scalable. Doesn't matter if it needs to analyze 10 pieces of feedback or 10 million. It just takes a bit longer, but it doesn't get tired. It doesn't get biased as well. And it's really fast. So by combining these two, we get the best of both worlds. And finally, why do themes and why do themes analysis is so that you can do more with less. If you don't need to spend hours of manually analyzing customer feedback and tagging individual comments, you can actually spend more time on things that are impacting your organization, socializing the insights, building business cases, and so on. So what's a theme? It answers the question, what is this piece of feedback about? It's not a keyword or a key phrase. It's basically a selection of these keywords and key phrases that all mean the same thing. And also it must be mentioned by at least two people. So if one person says something, it's not really a theme. A theme is created by looking at words that mean the same thing or have similar meanings. So for example, I struggled, or I found it difficult, hard, impossible. And then there are also different paraphrases of how people could be saying the same thing. Create an account or open account or complete an account creation. You cannot think in advance of all of the different ways people might be talking about something. And this is why creating manual rules doesn't work. This detecting these patterns needs to be left to AI. So as you are, when the AI knows all of the synonyms and the paraphrases, and then it can also know which keywords are worth tracking and which aren't, because you might, as you kind of scanning the piece of feedback, not everything that a person say is a theme. There are some filler words and so on that we need to ignore. But ultimately, the AI that we use, it's called unsupervised machine learning. It's looking at patterns in the data and then makes these decisions. So for example, if hard and difficult are always used in exactly the same context, then they're likely to mean the same thing. So ultimately, it detects this list of key phrases that make up a theme. For example, in this case, ease of creating an account. There's some specific thematic terminology. So I already mentioned the keywords, the key phrases that map to a theme. These are, we call them mapped phrases. But sometimes it can happen that two separate themes are created that are very close in meaning. So basically the AI didn't know or didn't understand or didn't think it was necessary to merge these together. And this is where a person can do it. Sometimes AI merges things, sometimes a person can do it after the fact. What about sentiment? Well, we view the sentiment as complementary to themes, but there are two different options. Option one, the theme itself expresses the sentiment. For example, it was easy to create an account. It was difficult to create an account. These could be two different themes, actually, and one could capture everything about the fact that it's difficult, and another theme could capture all of the phrases that indicate that it's easy, and then it would be easy to creating an account. Or the theme can be neutral. For example, ease of creating an account, where you have kind of both in one theme, and then sentiment is layered on top, and we attach the sentiment to parts of sentence in which that theme appears. So there are two options, as I mentioned, and they both have advantages and disadvantages. If the theme itself expresses the sentiment, it means that it's more clear and you can instantly understand what action you need to take. Whereas, but it is difficult to capture accurately. Also, if you think about all of the different things, all of the different aspects of customer experience or things that people mention, if for each one you have both a positive and a negative theme, it becomes difficult to manage. There were just too many themes. And also there might be neutral themes that don't have a sentiment. And then in that case, where do you put that? For the second option, where it's creating an account as a theme and it's positive, for example, it's easier to capture accurately because you're kind of combining two different approaches. It creates less themes. It's could be more granular and easier to find themes that are divisive. So for example, a neutral theme might be neutral because everybody's neutral when they talk about it, or it could be neutral because there are a lot of people who like it and a lot of people who dislike it. So having that sentiment gauge really helps you with understanding the granularity. However, it's difficult to kind of translate, okay, what does this mean? You kind of have to just do this extra thinking and when you're generating the insights. And so it feels less actionable as well. So we recommend to combine both approaches and use the first one for frequent themes and the second one for infrequent themes. Next step is organize all these themes into a hierarchy. And this is where at Thematic, we called themes at the top, base themes, and themes at the lower level or more specific themes, sub-themes. Here, you could organize things again in a different way, but the way Thematic does this out of the box is by focusing on frequency. So if a lot of people talk about billing, we will create a theme billing and put everything under billing under that theme. And it's also more useful than this approach where you basically separate easy and difficult to use, because if you think about it, there will be a billing department and they're the ones interested in feedback on billing. So you can tell them, well, everything on billing would be under here. You need to look in this area, whereas here they'd have to look in two different areas. So once we have these themes discovered and organized, the next step is to tag them. And we're tagging both themes and sentiment. All right, let's dig into Thematic. We will look at where is what on the interface, all the different features. We look at different themes operations and how to do them, how to create a theme, how to do a theme discovery. And I'll switch into Thematic. So this should look familiar to you. We have our analysis tab where we have different analysis functions. And managing themes is you can get to the themes through here or through here. It is a good idea before you do it to kind of look at the themes and read the feedback to understand, is this organization helpful or not? Because then when you edit the themes, you can you have more information on what's useful and what's not useful. All right, so manage themes. I'll open it in a new tab so that I can go back and forwards if I need. So this is our themes editor. In this themes editor, you see when you log in the list of all of the themes and their sub themes. This little function can help you work with the themes more easily, so they can collapse them. So then you can move them more easily as a group. Expanding helps to kind of go look at all of the themes in one list. And this will count. So these little bars indicate how frequent is a theme. And that's useful if you have, for example, here we have a theme called bank, and we have changing banks, a theme that has 2 bars, and switch bank, which is kind of the same, could be the same thing. And you can moving banking, you could probably just merge it together into this one theme because it's a less frequent theme. So our here we discussed here we see our merge theme and our mapped phrases. For example, under doesn't work, we only have one mapped phrase for some reason. We can actually click Autosuggest to see if the system can suggest other ways of how people might be saying doesn't work. So we see didn't work as quite similar, or app didn't work. You can decide which other variations you could add here. And suddenly we can find more things. So this is helpful if you created a theme yourself and you're looking for other ways to kind of grab more data here. As you can see, I can always create a new theme and then use that function to find all of the different variations. Moving themes, I'm gonna collapse them. So I had this didn't work theme, but here I have issues. So technically this should be under, doesn't work should be under issues, right? In fact, I'm going to I'm going to make it a sub-theme. So I moved the base theme a bit closer so that I don't have to drag that theme for a long time. And another thing I might be able to do is change the name as well. Okay, so I had to relog in quickly, but as you can see, all of my actions have been captured. So the fact that I changed the theme title, even though I was logged in out of the system, it doesn't matter. This is my action was remembered, and I'm back to where I was before. So I don't like this theme bank. It's very generic. So one of the things I can do is think about where else I could put these themes that appear here. So for example, access my account could be under logging in. And in fact, I can make it a base theme and move all of these as sub-themes. So now logging in or difficulty to log in is part of the accessing my account issue. Another thing I can do is put grade bank. I'm gonna make it a base theme, and I put reliable bank under it because it's kind of the same thing or related. Changing banks is more of a negative theme, so I would probably want to keep it negative, or comparisons. No, great banking app. Great. I'm gonna merge these. I'm gonna put it as a separate theme. Now this better bank theme, when I look at the theme, at the mapped phrases, I can see that, yeah, they're kind of interesting, but they all mean the same thing. And the comments help a different thing. They all mean different things. The comments here help me understand this. So better way to bank, banking with ongoing improvements. I don't like this theme. It's not very frequent, and it combines many different things that are unrelated. So I'm gonna actually delete this. So this leaves an empty theme bank that has no mapped phrases. It was just holding different sub-themes that the algorithm wasn't sure where to put. So I can delete it again. So now if I can click here on review untagged comments, I see all of the comments that don't have any themes. So that's another thing I can do is kind of look through these comments that have no theme and figure out what to do with them. So awesome app, best app. You can decide if this is something worth adding here under great app, because technically it's not very actionable. It just repeats the same information, but you could potentially just add some mapped phrases like awesome app, best app, excellent app, app is great, app is amazing. And now your coverage will be better because these comments now appear here. So before it was 63, now it's 67. Another tricky thing I just noticed is going through these mapped phrases is this worst bank app. Well, it has nothing to do with great app. So technically I should be keeping these separately. And interestingly, we don't have a bad bank theme. So what I can do, I could create a bad bank or unhappy with bank theme. And when you're unhappy, you are more likely to change it. So I can group them like this. And now when I can go into this, I can actually move these mapped phrases. And this is why this transparency is so important, because you can see these mistakes and you can fix them. And now it will remember for perpetuity that this is how you should be analyzing it. Okay, next thing we want to talk about is this themes discovery. And this is where you have a theme that you're interested in. And you could even kind of look here, which could be an interesting theme. Deposit checks. Maybe we'll try this one. More than 500 people mentioned that they have that they are interested in depositing checks. And in bank apps, I've seen that in other apps as well, that it's such an important feature of the banking app that it's important to know more about this. And this is why we've built this Discover Similar Theme button. So you can either discover themes related to deposit checks, so themes that are mentioned in the same context, perhaps more specific ones, or you can also filter. You can say comments without a theme and comments that have low scores, and kind of find me more themes in that particular data set. So you click Discover Themes, and hopefully it will discover something useful. It only takes a few minutes, and it's a great way of kind of bringing in the human element. So crashes when depositing checks. This is a clear, and you can decide, should it be under making payments or some be under issues. Deposit feature, well, it's kind of the same thing. Difficult to deposit, problem depositing. Photo of the check, easy to deposit, taking pictures. These seem quite positive. So some positive, some negative themes, but they're all more specific. And now when I add them, you will see them because they have a star. And I could even decide to make it into a separate theme, depositing checks, and put all of these themes under it. Because this is something that is interesting to me. And maybe I'll put this one here as well. So again, very useful to get more specific themes. And you can see that I hardly ever typed anything this whole time. I was just clicking and interacting with the system. We typically recommend to spend between half an hour and an hour reviewing the themes once, and maybe on a monthly basis, or whenever you have a large new addition to the data set, discover themes to find more like newer, fresher themes in this data. You click apply and mark new themes as reviewed. So this will remove the stars. And in a few minutes, you will get a message saying your themes were applied. And when you go here, you will now see the changes. Cool. I think we've pretty much covered everything. This brings us to the end of this masterclass episode. I hope you learned something new, and always here to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to email me. Thanks. Bye.